Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking some truly fascinating science and breaking it down into clear, actionable insights. We're going to explore a literal high-stakes, microscopic battle that is constantly being waged right inside your kitchen. And the prize? Well, it's keeping your pantry staples safe to eat.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with why food spoils, then cover the core preservation strategy, look at traditional preservation methods, dive into modern temperature and technology, and finally, break down the chemistry of additives. Section 1. Why does food spoil? The unseen enemies on your plate. It's a question you've definitely asked yourself when tossing out a piece of surprisingly fuzzy bread, or, sniffing a highly questionable carton of milk. But the answer? It's actually a multi-front biological war. It's not just one isolated thing happening, it's a coordinated attack from several different angles. We've all seen the devastating aftermath of these unseen forces on everyday items, right? Think about that drastic change in color and texture, mold completely taking over a slice of bread, milk turning into a chunky mess, or the severe, mushy blackening of a banana. And this isn't just cosmetic. This is a fundamental structural breakdown of the food itself.
So food spoilage is basically a coordinated assault from four distinct culprits. First up, you have the microbes, bacteria and mold launching a microscopic attack. Then, macroorganisms step in. These are pests like weevils, actively devouring your grains and cereals. But the threat isn't just biological. Physical processing damage, things like bruises or cuts from harvesting, actually provide an open door for these invaders. And honestly, if all else fails, food contains its very own internal enzymes that naturally cause overripening and eventually self-degradation. It's basically programmed to break down.
Section 2. The core preservation strategy. Fighting back with science.
At its absolute core, food preservation is all about artificially manipulating the environment. We're saying, no, we aren't just letting nature run its course here. Our primary goal is to drastically reduce spoilage and prevent food poisoning, all while locking in the nutritional values so we can safely store that excess food for months to come. It's really about taking control.
And to take control, every single preservation method, whether it's ancient or literally invented yesterday, relies on executing a highly tactical three-step defense plan. Step 1. Build a wall to keep microbes out. Step 2. Change the temperature or water levels so they can't survive even if they do get in. And Step 3. Physically protect the food from those larger macro pests.
Section 3. Traditional preservation methods. Ancient ingenuity.
Okay, so one of the absolute oldest tricks in the human playbook is sun drying, just like you see with this preserved fish. By utilizing simple solar heat, you evaporate the water right out of it. And because microorganisms desperately need moisture to survive and multiply, removing that water halts their growth entirely. It's so simple, yet so brilliant.
Similarly, heavily salting items like this lime pickle, which you might know as lundahi, does something almost magical on a chemical level. The salt draws water out of the food, but more importantly, it physically draws water out of any microorganisms that are hanging around, effectively destroying them and stopping them dead in their tracks. It's an incredibly effective, time-tested strategy.
Human resourcefulness throughout history has been incredibly diverse. Smoking meat and fish, for example, exposes them to naturally protective chemicals found in the smoke. Burying ginger or lime under dry sand creates this perfect physical barrier, while immersing dry meat in honey creates such a dense, sugar-heavy environment that microbes simply cannot thrive. These are totally brilliant, low-tech ways of hacking a food's environment.
Section 4. Modern temperature and technology. Scaling up the defense. Today, we've actually optimized that ancient sun-drying method with modern solar heat dryers. By using glass or plastic covers to trap the solar heat, we create a completely closed environment. This means the food dries much more rapidly and it's 100% protected from pests, unexpected rainstorms, and outside contamination. It's the exact same ancient principle, just perfectly optimized for today.
Now, we all use refrigerators, but understanding the temperature contrast here is vital. Your standard freezing chambers sit just below 4 degrees Celsius. Now, that merely slows the microbes down. It makes them sluggish. But deep freezing, that plunges the temperature below minus 18 degrees Celsius, violently halting all microbial growth while completely protecting the food's natural color, taste, and, of course, nutritional value.
So the really crucial point here is that by just tweaking the exact heating time and temperature, we get entirely different results. Let's look at milk.
Pasteurization heats it to 72 degrees Celsius for just 15 seconds. That's enough to destroy the disease-causing bacteria, letting it last a couple of weeks in your fridge. But sterilization? That process heats the milk to a whopping 120 degrees Celsius for 15 to 20 minutes. This intense process destroys all microorganisms entirely. Because of this, sterilized milk can sit perfectly safely on a warm pantry shelf, no fridge needed whatsoever, until you finally pop it open.
Section 5. The chemistry of additives. The molecular shields.
Let's make sure we get our definitions straight here. Additives is the broad, overarching umbrella term for all the chemical substances added to packaged food to alter it in some way. But preservatives? Those are a very specific subcategory. They are essentially the chemical soldiers deployed with one single mission, to fight off spoilage by stopping the action of microorganisms and other spoiling factors.
The packaged groceries you buy are carefully engineered on a molecular level. If a manufacturer wants a thicker texture, they'll drop in some pectin. To stop chemical breakdown and that unappetizing browning, they'll deploy antioxidants like citric acid. But when they need to stop those microbial villains we talked about earlier, they pull out the heavy artillery, specific preservatives like sodium metabisulfite or benzoic acid. It is literally a complete molecular toolkit designed for food survival.
So, as we wrap up, it's clear that preservation of our food is a relentless, invisible war of science against the forces of nature. The next time you open your fridge or pantry, I really want you to take a look inside and ask yourself, what invisible battles are currently being waged right there on your shelves? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, stay curious.